Fresh with Fresh and Felicia, and this is Triker by Actbest Electric Bikes. It's a Class 2 500 watt motor with a 750 watt peak. It'll get you up to about 16 miles an hour, which if you've ever rode one of these things, you know that's plenty fast enough because stability is an issue with a lot of trikes. And there's a lot of things that Actbest did with this innovative new trike that is really interesting. Some really great features and some other things we'll talk about in the next few minutes. The Actbest TRIKER, Class 2 electric trike. Let's take a look. The Actbest TRIKER. You can see it has the standard front suspension. You can lock it out if you don't like that. Comes with fenders. This one, I think fenders are an option, but they do match the body color, which is nice, and a really big headlight. There's a new tread on the tires, which gives you a little bit better grip and a little more durability. And you can get through some loose sand and stuff like that. It is completely foldable. You can fold this bike, this trike, in half. And the frame folds and also the front stem folds nicely. So you can put a couple of these in an SUV and take them anywhere. You can take them places where you normally couldn't get a bicycle because you can throw it in the back of a car or truck. And that's nice. And what's interesting is the motor is in the rear. Most of the trikes we've tested had the motor on the front hub motor, but this one is in the rear. And I think personally, I'm going to test this in a little bit, so stay tuned. It gives it a little bit better stability. Since all the weight is on the back there, it's less likely to flip over. Like some of the other trikes were really unstable, but this has a nice solid rear, and it's going to give you that stability you need, which is really important for people who have balance issues. And you, of course, have that 7-speed Shimano shifter back there, so you can ride it like a bike, like full throttle, or you can just use pedal assist. 3 ways to do it. It does have the locking rear differential, so the wheels are going to spin freely, and that's another nice safety feature as well. And the rack is beautiful too, and it fits on there really, really nicely. And this is interesting, just over 12.5 inches step over, and this is a genius engineering move by our friends at Actbest, because people with limited mobility will be able to lift their leg over this bike. Just over 12.5 inches step through at its lowest point there. So no problem kicking my leg through. I don't have the best legs in the world either. I don't have the best mobility. We can get right through this thing. And I think our older friends are going to be able to get on this as well. So that is a nice feature. And it's a vented and very nice seat. There's adequate padding on here. Very, very nice. Rivals some of the more expensive seats we've seen. And there is venting in it as well, which keeps you nice and cool, and that's great. And there's a little button on the bottom so you can flip it up, which gives you access to your removable battery if you ever want to take that out and charge that somewhere else. You can charge it right there on the frame, on the bike itself, or if you park your bike somewhere or lock it up, if you're going shopping with it, you can take the battery out and then charge it in the convenience and safety of your own home. So it's a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery. And you can see it's got a little charger on there. There's a switch too, and you do need a key to remove it or lock it onto the frame. They give you 2 keys with it, and if those keys are lost, well, you're gonna need a new battery. And there's also a nice battery gauge. You just press that button while it's charging or when it's sitting there, and you'll know exactly how much battery you have without having to fire up the bike. Now, a nice handlebars too. These are completely adjustable, and that's nice as well. It does have a monochrome display. You hold the M button to turn it on, and 3 levels of pedal assist. 1, 2, and 3. 3, of course, is the fastest, so that is available when you need it. Also has your odometer, and you can set a trip meter on here, and you have your lights and your horn on those 2 buttons to the far left. I've already got a phone holder on here that does not come with it, but it's a nice accessory to have. Most of us carry our smartphones. I was really surprised. I was shocked to see that this has hydraulic brakes, which gives you that quick, smooth stopping power. Just like a typical motorcycle or a scooter, these are legit hydraulic brakes. And usually that's an expensive upgrade. So it's really interesting to see that at this price point. And of course, again, your 7-speed Shimano shifter, and you should pedal because that's going to affect the range, and a half-twist throttle as well. Now, you can ride this thing full-out throttle. You probably get 35, 40 miles, depending on your incline, how much you weigh, if you're going into the wind. But if you really want to get the max out of it, you pedal. Pedal, especially when you're starting off.
That's what uses the most battery energy. And you could get up to 60, 65 miles out of a charge if you give it a little bit of help. The rear rack, very nice, holds about 120 pounds of stuff. So if you do deliveries, or if you just go shopping, or you want to put a pet back here, 120 pounds, about the max you're going to be able to use this for, supported by the axle and the 2 rear wheels. And the bike's total capacity is somewhere between 400, 410 pounds, including whatever you've got in the rear rack. The bike itself, again, weighs in somewhere between 100, 105 pounds. But there it is, the Actbest TRIKER. Very nice bike with a lot of features you don't usually see at this price point. Now let's take it for a ride test and see what she can do. All right, so I wanted to take this out. I always take these out first as soon as I build them. I make sure everything's tightened and straight before I let anybody ride these things. And I usually start off really slow, and I want to pedal first to get my feel for the balance of the bike. And then I'll start messing with the pedal assist and the throttle. But this was real easy. It feels really solid. It's a very, very nice build, and it feels very, very stable. So I've got some throttle going on here. I got up to about 15 and a half, almost 16 miles an hour. I was kind of riding into the wind. As you can see, the palms kind of blowing in the background. We've had a lot of windy hurricane activity here in Florida this fall, so it's been a little weird down here, but we're good. Thanks for asking. And so I took it on a ride. We've got a lot of construction going on in the neighborhood here. And again, it feels great. Totally stable. And again, with that rear motor, the rear hub motor, it feels a little more stable because you got all the weight in the back there. So here's where I really bounced it around a bit. I twisted it back and forth, popped a wheelie. You didn't know you could do a wheelie on a trike. Testing the stability, no turning over. I did lift the wheel a little bit, but it came back down nicely. Trying to rock it here. And again, with the front hub motors, man, this thing would have turned over by now, but this one is super rock solid and stable. And I would let my own parents ride this thing. It just feels so much more stable having that motor in back. I think it's such a smart design to do it back there. And finally, it was ready for Felicia's test ride. And she took it out there on our local neighborhood roads, and she said it felt pretty good as well. So we're just about ready to take it back to our supermarket and fill that basket up with groceries. I think it is ready to go. The ride tests are successful. Felicia did remark it feels more stable than the other trikes she tested as well. So there's something to that rear hub motor. It looks good. It feels good. It rides great. This is definitely a win. We're liking this Actbest TRIKER. Now let's take a look at the assembly process. The Actbest TRIKER e-trike is probably the easiest assembly I have ever done. Most of it is together in the box. I don't know how these genius engineers figured this out. It's some kind of metallic origami, but they were able to fit this whole thing folded in this box, and it came secure with very little scratches or dings on it, shipped from across the world, literally. And it looks great. So everything you need is in this box. Some other trikes ship with 2 boxes, and then you have to assemble them and put the frame together. But this one, all one box. And you'll see what's going on here. So the whole frame is assembled, but it's foldable, so they're able to fit it in that compact area. Here's your basket, and inside here you have some goodies. We'll show you what they are in just a moment. And you're gonna need to cut all these packing straps off, all these packing ties. There's about 1 million there, and a whole bunch of tape. And this is typical with all electric bicycles. Anybody can do this. Again, there is a video on their website, on the Actbest website, that will guide you through this entire assembly process. But a lot of people like to see the quick and dirty version. Like, hey, can I do that before they buy it? And I can tell you that, yes, this is real simple. Here is the box with the goodies. Here's your pedals. You got some reflectors in here, some wire ties, the brackets that will hold your fenders to your frame, and a bunch of assorted nuts and bolts. and your instructions. And it's a really interesting hex wrench. That's pretty cool. I've never seen one like that before, digging that. And in here is going to be your battery charger. So everything you need to get started and get riding. You may want to put that battery on charge. Ours was almost full, so we didn't need to charge it initially, but never a bad idea to top it off and start your riding with a full charge. Here's your battery packed nicely in bubble wrap, and everything you need to get started with that battery here. And again, these are wire tied into, nice and secure, and it's protected by the basket, which is a great idea. This is the cloth lining. It's like a nylon polyester lining that sits inside your basket. And inside there, which I dropped, are the 3 fenders. You've got 3 wheels, so 3 fenders. And that's a nice option too, to keep the dirt and pebbles and water out of your face. Here's the instructions, step-by-step instructions. There is a video on their website once again. So the first thing you do is just drop the handlebars in. That's it. This is the foldable handlebar stem. Drop that in there, and then you're going to open the quick release and expose the bolt, and you're going to use this really nifty hex wrench to tighten that up. Now this is a little tricky because you don't know what straight is yet because you don't have the handlebars in. So pop the handlebars in there. And again, these are adjustable handlebars. You can put these to any height you want. So straighten that out and just kind of eyeball it. Now it's hard to tell without the tire in there. You want to make sure that if you're looking towards the front, that the caliper for the rotor is on the left-hand side. So get it as straight as you can. You can always go back in and loosen this up and straighten it up later when she's all put together. And snap the quick release back together, and you are ready for your next step, which is putting the front wheel on. What's nice about these trikes is they kind of balance themselves. You don't have to kind of fuddle with it because you don't need a kickstand or anything because it's got the 2 wheels balancing on the back. Now, I always find it easier to take these nuts off the axle, and then you can just cleanly drop it onto the front forks. This is nice. You're going to make sure that, there's a little spacer in here which protects your front fork from bending during shipping. You'll never use it again, so you can get rid of that. And a little protective spacer in the caliper, so remove that. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself nuts saying, hey, why won't this rotor fit in here? And just slide it in there, lift it up. A lot of the weight is in the back, so this is really nice. And just drop that fork right on the axle, and it's going to slide on there nicely. And there are lock washers, and that's a great idea too, just in the case that your front wheel nuts come loose, and they do come loose. They kind of work them way loose over time. So make sure you check that every ride, or every couple of rides at least, to make sure they're nice and snug on there. Usually they don't come off, but you could hit a curb or a bump or something. You don't want that kind of action. This wrench comes with it too. All the tools you need are in here, so that's great. This is one of those multi-function wrenches. Good to keep on your bike. Just put it in a little saddle bag or something and take it with you, because you never know what you need to adjust when you're out there. Now we're going to put the front fender on, and the front fender is held on by the same bolt that holds your front headlight on. And this is already wired, it's already attached, it's kind of hanging there loosely. So we're going to drop our front fender in there, and it goes behind the fork like that. And then the metal clip on the front headlight is going to go right in front of that. And it's got some grooves in there, which acts as a kind of like a lock washer. So you just put your bolt in there. This is a little tricky. You might have to do this a few times. It's kind of a really awkward angle. Just get that fender up as high as you can so it doesn't rub the wheel, and just make sure that headlight's as straight as you can get it. You can adjust things later. All right, so that's ready to go. So now we'll take a look at this rear hub motor, and I'm really digging this. Again, I've said that before, but I like this design for the stability of force. I don't know if it gives you any more power, but I know people are kind of used to getting pushed with rear-wheel drive, so it just feels a little more natural. Now, these are hard to install, and I didn't look at the installation video that Actbest has on their website, and I probably should have, because I drove myself a little crazy. I had to do this 3 or 4 times. This was probably the longest part of my personal assembly process, and it drove me nuts because I had to do this 2 or 3 times. You definitely want to attach the fenders to the basket before you put the basket on. I've done it with other bikes the other way, and it is terrible. You end up taking that basket off to attach the fenders. So do it before you put the basket on. Save yourself some time. Of course, I didn't save myself any time because I wasn't sure what I was doing here. It's not explained really clearly in the manual, and their video may have a little bit better explanation. So these get bolted right to the rack itself. That's where they're going to live. You need to just loosen them up at first, make sure they go on where they're supposed to, and this one didn't fit on there. So I had to take it off and reverse it, And you can always just bend them out too. If they're touching the wheels, it does say in the manual you can manually bend them outwards so that they fit a little bit better. But yeah, they'll figure out what goes where. 4 bolts and 4 nuts hold this guy on securely. Again, the weight restriction on this is about 120 pounds, so it's going to hold small kids or dogs or all kinds of groceries. Nice seat. Look at the padding on this thing. Unbelievable. And it has a vent as well to keep it nice and cool down there. It is a quick release, so you can adjust this easily to whatever height you want. You're probably going to need it pretty high if you intend to pedal because it's such a weird angle. On a typical two-wheeler bike, you have a little bit more room to push with your legs, but this one is a more vertical setup, so you're going to need to add a little bit of your weight on there, so you'll need to be a little higher to use your body weight to maneuver those pedals. So that is in there. Make sure she's nice and tight because you don't want your seat swinging, because that can be kind of weird when you're out on a bike ride. And now we're going to put the pedals. They are marked left and right, so that is awesome, and it shows you which way they spin, and they do spin in different directions, so make sure you follow those arrows and then tighten those guys up on both sides, the left and right pedals. And check them every couple of rides too. They usually don't go anywhere. Once you're tightened on there, they're going to be good to go. You have little reflectors on the back, which is nice, and the front. It makes you a little bit more visible at night in headlights, so that's cool. And there's a front light, a front LED, and a rear LED light, which helps as well. Can never be too seen. A little quick release button down here flips the seat forward and gives you access to the battery compartment. And you just drop this in on the lowest hook. There's several little plastic hooks on here. You want to drop it on the lowest one, and it is ready to go, and it locks itself in. And the tires say you can inflate them from 15 to 35 pounds. I go with 32. I don't want to go all the way up top because I like them nice and hard, so I get a little bit more range out of my battery. So flip the power switch on the battery. Don't forget to do that or your bike won't turn on. And then you have to turn your power assist either to 1, 2, or 3 so that the bike will engage the motor. The throttle will not work at pedal assist 0. And you can adjust these front handlebars as well. This is nice. You angle it and the tilt that you want, real easy, no tools necessary, and also the height. And both of these are quick release, and that is wonderful. Tighten them up, make sure she's not going anywhere, and you are ready to take your ride. See, assembly, pretty simple with the exception of the fenders attaching to the rear rack, and that might have just been me, I don't know. Watch the video on their website, you'll probably have a better time than I did. Great looking bike, super stable, rock solid, excellent ride, probably the best, most stable electric tricycle I have ever ridden. A great choice for you if you need a little extra stability, or if you have an older friend or relative, an excellent recommendation for them. Some people who don't have the balance to ride a two-wheeler, this is a great choice. A superior build, super solid. It looks great. It feels great. And it'll get you up to 15, 16 miles an hour and give you that mobility that you're looking for. The Triker by Actbest. Highly recommend this e-trike.